Hi, my name is Ava Slicht, and this is the second in a series of videos on edible landscaping. This one is called Explore, and we're going to explore the ideas for what your project will be in creating an edible landscape. But before we start looking at ideas, I just want to remind you about why we're even doing edible landscaping. What does it mean to be sustainable? Why are we, what does it mean to make a difference in your project, in the world? So we're going to do a sustainable project, and sustainable is looked at on a couple of different levels. On a global and a larger level, what I mean by sustainable is that we create a better place than what we found. We take carbon out of the atmosphere and we store it in the ground by planting trees. Through the miracle of photosynthesis, trees and plants will take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and return oxygen. That's sustainable. All right? So that's on a global level. On a local level, what I mean by sustainable is, can you do this project? Is it in your budget? Is it of a size you can do? Can you maintain it? Will it last? Does it make sense? So that's sort of your local, individual view of sustainability. Okay, now that we got that one out of the way, let's look at what exploring ideas means. First of all, you have to define your client. Your client in this case might be you. It might be your school, it might be a neighbor, it might be a church or a community center. So it's either for a public entity, like a school, or private, like in a residential area. Those have different needs. The liability and safety issues of a public project are different than the liability and safety issues of a home and a small personal project. So those are some of the things you have to take into consideration. So define your client. Once you have a client, then you ask them, what are their priorities? What are their dreams? How do they want to use the project? Is it for beauty? Is it for entertaining? Are they going to have some place for their children? So what are safety issues regarding children? Do you need a fence? Do you have animals? My garden is completely fenced off because in one night the deer would come in and eat it. And in fact, that has happened. I went away and next time I come back, all the food's gone. Fencing, important. Okay, so look at those issues. Your client has created a list of priorities. As a landscaper, I come in, I have a different set of priorities. I look at what does the property need, what does the land need, what does the site need. If it's on a hillside, I look at the condition. Is there erosion? Do I need to look at putting in terracing? Are the trees healthy or are they sick? In California, we worry about sudden oak death, so I have to make sure that the trees are in a safe condition. Perhaps you're in a very shady area and you need to do some pruning and open up for light because what you plant will need more light. So as a landscaper and a project designer, you look at the land. As a client, you look at your wants. Then you take the two lists and you put them together and you overlap the priorities of both and come up with what I call multiple functions or stacking functions. What works for one should work for another. I also recommend that you start really small. The smaller the project, the easier it is to do a good job, and then you can grow from there. So here's an example of a very small job I did of an edible landscape. We took this little area in the back, about 12 by 15, and this is what it looked like before. Okay, so that's the picture of the garden before we did anything. Here's an example of a plan that I drew for the client. And now you're going to look at a picture of the garden after it was installed. So what we have here are fruit trees, blueberries, strawberries, vegetables, herbs, and flowers. Everything the client wanted and appropriate for the site. So start spewing out those ideas.